the recording? Oh, there it is. Welcome to the St. Louis Linux Users Group meeting for July the 22nd of 2021. Tonight we have a presentation by Lee Lammert about upgrading between OpenSUSE versions. Lee is a member of the steering committee at STLLUG, and he is also a owner, let's go with owner of Omnitech for all your service solutions. He basically keeps us afloat with handling our websites, handling our mailing list, all that fun stuff. And before we get into his talk, is there anyone with any burning questions, comments, concerns, technical problems they want to feed the hive mind, or any successes they had over the past week?
This is Stan. I'd like to point out that our scheduled presenter had to be called away on a project, and so Lisa very generously donated his time and services to this meeting tonight. Did you hear me?
Yes, we did.
You made us speechless, Stan.
Ah,
That's a scary thought.
Well, at least all his hardware is working tonight.
Yeah, I didn't hear any screeching or screaming. What happened?
It's working.
I don't know what.
actually, I did everything with my eyes closed, so I guess I need to. I've been learning stuff from Ed.
There you go.
See no evil.
Oh, well, there's no hope for you now.
Is Gary Meyer here?
No. Gary's late. He's always late.
He called me up to make sure I would MC.
Uh-huh. And why do you think that was?
So he could be late.
Yeah. Don't make me laugh. God, please. Oh.
There's a nasty cough thing going around, and
Oh boy, do I have it.
are you coughing up the green stuff yet?
No. It's usually my sinuses. It's not so much coughing. But 2 days ago, every time I coughed, I thought I was going to have the lining of my throat come flying out of my mouth. God, I hate that when it does that. I'm on the mend now.
I mean, it ruins my day when my throat jumps out my mouth.
Yeah. It's not fun.
I have a question for participants. There's someone named Ron in the session. If he would go into settings and add his last name, or at least the initial of his last name, I would appreciate it.
Okay.
I try to take attendance, and we often have people with the same first name show up.
Crap, where am I?
I have no idea why this thing seems to be working well tonight for me.
Just
Cool.
It's 13 months of practice, Stan.
No, like I said, I did it all with my eyes closed tonight, so maybe that made a difference.
Might.
I used to have to find a keypad to know what my phone number was.
Oh, gosh.
You know,
Well, since nobody's asking any useful questions, I will put up a little tidbit I found about 2 weeks ago. A nice, simple way to find your public IP along with reverse information about that IP, along with who has information about that IP.
Yeah.
Shows the ASN, physical location, country, city, host name, public IP, curl ipinfo.io.
And you don't even have to send it a header thing
Right.
or anything.
Right.
You don't have to go to IP Monkey or IP
You don't,
Chicken.
you don't need a browser. All you need is curl.
Wow,
Hmm.
cool.
Let me try that in the command line. It didn't work in the browser. curlinfo.io.
Yep.
Do you have curl installed?
Assuming you have curl installed.
Apparently not.
Well, then you need to install it real quick and you'll be golden.
Yep.
Oh, Steve, you really do sound like you got half a foot in bed.
Yeah. Oh God. You
I,
should
I,
have
I
been
hope you
nights.
feel, I hope you feel better than you sound.
I think I do actually.
Wait, you mean we aren't all lying down in bed? Just me?
I just did that curl and it had my city right.
Probably because your IP is registered to your provider there in town.
Yeah, I believe so. I know they do a lot of geofencing on my IP.
Mm-hmm.
When I type curl info, is that one word?
No, curl space IP info.
Ah,
I need to make it bigger.
.io, isn't it?
How about, hey, Steve, can you read that?
there you go. Yeah, perfect. I'm in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin.
Well, that's because you're on wireless and those IPs are assigned out of a home office up there probably.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I got a couple of little antennas for this new router that I've got, and it seems to be working good.
Cool.
Let's see. Well, I'll run a speed test. We'll see what happens with the other thing involved here. So this is simultaneous with Zoom.
You've got your external antennas yet?
I got a couple of little ones that I just set on the shelf with it. You know, a couple of vertical ones. I'm getting 8 meg down. So
Well, that's what your, no, that's your bandwidth.
That's what I'm contracted for. So that's
Yeah.
working.
You know, 8 meg
Well,
guaranteed. 8 meg guaranteed is better than, 50 or 0, depending on which way your nose is pointing.
Yeah, no shit. No shit.
If anybody here doesn't know Steve, he lives out in the boonies, and he has no hardwire internet access. He tried DSL for a while; it was worthless. So we've been trying to get him set up on fixed wireless, and it turns out AT&T had a decent deal for a fixed 8 meg. And go ahead.
With AT&T, you contract for a speed, and then they just don't measure the data. Or if they do, they don't care.
Right.
But it's working pretty good. 8 meg seems to do everything I want to do. It plays music and streams videos just
Yeah.
fine.
Well, just think, 20 years ago, that would be 5 T1s,
Yeah.
which would be 100 phone lines.
Yep. Isn't it amazing how that's changed?
At 64 kilobits per line.
Yeah.
When I first got DSL here, we only had 3 megabits.
And you probably got 4 today.
I don't know. We have AT&T. I don't know what it is. I think it went up to 100.
Nah, DSL can't do 100. You must have something else.
No. DSL is about 1.5 to 2 meg. That's all.
Where you are, if you're a mile from the CO, you might get 25 or 30.
Really?
Yeah.
biggest problem with the DSL wasn't the slow speed, it was the mice.
Oh, they chewed the cables.
Oh, fuck yes. You know those little green 6-inch diameter columns that stick up out of the ground all over the place?
Mhm.
Well, guess what the mice do? They crawl in from the bottom, build a nice nest in there, and just chew up the wire.
Does anyone monitor their internet speeds? Like, I saw a video a while ago of the guy got a Raspberry Pi, set up a ad blocker on it and a Grafana dashboard just to check, hey, am I getting the ups and the downs that I paid for?
What did he find out?
Probably not. If I recall correctly, he's actually from St. Louis too.
Ooh-wee.
All right, we got 4 minutes till 1:45, so somebody else ask a question. Or brag about what you got done.
Got a question. Got some people asking me about these specialized laptops for the elderly, for senior services. And
What would that be?
I don't remember the brand name, unfortunately. I remember hearing a lot more about them ago, and I guess now they're trying to push them again. So, but they're set up so that very, very limited functionality, and supposedly, somebody who is up in years and doesn't remember instructions should be easy enough to follow and get things done. Can't destroy it. Supposedly, now, is that the truth of how it works?
Unfortunately, most of them are still probably running Windblows.
When I looked at them a little bit, and this would be a couple of years ago, it was actually the opposite.
Really?
They were running on Linux, and it's just a question of how they were locked down. Because as a box, all they do is they will do a browser and they will do mail, and maybe there's a couple other very customized functions, but they are designed so they don't let an elderly person not get stuff off the internet.
Well, that sounds suspiciously like a Chromebook.
It does. It does. And I think that's why they kind of disappeared from the market. Was I was telling people just get a Chromebook, but apparently they're starting to come back, and I don't know anything about the new generation of these elderly.
My question is, how do you know it's the new generation?
That's true. That's true. And I don't. And they sell it as a service, not as a not as a one-off payment for the box. No, you wind up being a monthly subscriber, and you pay.
Oh, okay.
Pay.
That's how they take their lessons from Microsoft.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we got a couple.
This
Go
is
ahead.
Stan. I'd like to remind everybody that next Tuesday is a newcomer Linux user meeting. People are welcome to come, whether they're a newcomer or not. We have some people that have been newcomers for 7 or 8 years that keep showing up.
Okay.
Dan, one of these years we're going to look at your graduation rate from the newcomer group.
No newcomer left behind.
It's like the fun thing to do. All these college sports teams and stuff. It's fun to look at the graduation rate. And it, I don't know how it is now, but I know at one time St. Louis U's basketball team was like the leader for actually graduating basketball players in Division One.
Hey, that's something to be proud of.
Yeah.
But you can only have so many sportscasters.
Yeah, unfortunately, the guy who was coach at the time, although I thought this was a great thing, him getting that many of his basketball stars graduating, but unfortunately, Father Biondi, the president of the university, didn't see it that way and fired his rear end. He wanted somebody who was just going to win games.
Oh, it is this guy.
Oh, whatever that was, we couldn't see it.
No, that's okay. I got so many windows showing on here. I got to make sure I grab the right one. Anyway, Gary called me this afternoon and said that Michael had an emergency, so he's not going to do his official SUSE presentation tonight. And I said, well, what the heck? Maybe we'll just tour some 15.3 stuff. I'll do a live upgrade for you, and we'll review what is new in 15.3. To start off with, and let's see. In the SUSE world, what I did here, zipper ref, I've been a SUSE bigot for over 15 years. I think it's the best engineered distro, as well as some of the other stuff we'll talk about, but it's really coming into focus today because of IBM throwing a grenade into Red Hat a few years ago. Nobody knows what Red Hat's doing. So SUSE's management said, well, why don't we just bypass all this cruft that Red Hat's putting out and do something that makes sense? So as of 15.3 OpenSUSE and SUSE Linux Enterprise Server 15 Service Pack 3, they share a common code base. This is a new server up in New York I've been working on for the last week or so. And there are Zipper Refresh. Zipper is the package manager tool in SUSE. Zipper is just the name of it. And then what I like about it is all the commands are abbreviated. REF for refresh, IN for install, RM for remove. Verify does a quick one to make sure all the package dependencies of installed packages are satisfied. So I'm gonna have to shrink this a little bit to fit it on the screen. But here's all the repos installed on the system.
Hey, Lee, is there a quick glossary, the command that shows you what all those abbreviations are?
There's a good man page. But it's pretty, complex and convoluted.
Are there any info pages? Do you know?
Yeah, but they're not in color.
If you run p-info, it'll be in color.
Oh.
You have to install p-info.
Installed. Still doesn't look like color.
Well, the links should be hyperlinked to be in color. Depends on the man page.
That just looked like the man page, though, not the info page.
Yeah, this is a server installation. You start with bare minimal. Right now, the entire system is only 4.1 gig. Everything on here, including one container, there's 2 more to go. So we got Docker environment. One of the things that's been pretty much standard in SUSE for the last 4 or 5 years is ButterFS. So it automatically sets up a set of sub-volumes for you. Each one of these is a sub-volume here that I've highlighted. See if I make that a little bigger. And all of this, every time you make a change on one of those sub-volumes, it gets saved in snapshots. There is a command line tool called Snapper. And Snapper list will show you all of the snapshots that have been grabbed on the machine. I don't want to get into that. I'm just running through some of the quick features. I'll remove. Oh, boost. Okay, I'll go ahead and do that. Give me a package to install. Well, I tell you what, let's do it this way. In the SUSE world, there is a directory under Etsy called Zip, ZYPP. This is the core of the package system. All the information about the package system is stored here, but the one I want to talk about is repos. There is a file in this directory for every repo you use on the system. And every one of those repos has meta information saved about it within system D. So when
Stan asking, what's a repo?
Repository,
Oh,
just like Debian repositories, Red Hat repositories. I call them repos for short.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank
you. There's 15 repos configured on this machine. I've got the fonts big so you can see it, but normally, if you see it on one line, look over here on the right-hand side, there's enabled column, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 enabled. Things like debug, all 4 debug repositories are not enabled, so you don't have to take the time to update them all, every time you do a refresh. This is one I just installed.
Are these repos maintained by SUSE?
Yes. All of these are maintained by SUSE. There are others out there. There's hundreds of them or thousands of them splattered all over GitHub with people publishing their own stuff. I've used a lot of it over the years, but in the last 4 or 5 years, I've sort of cut back. And if I can find it in the SUSE repos, that's good because I know they're going to be updated. But more than once, I've gotten burned by some dude to put up his own repository with something I liked, and then 2 versions later, he stopped updating it.
Kind of like the Debian world PPAs, I take it.
I think so. Although I don't do a lot of Debian stuff except for Raspbian and Bach, obviously. All right, so that's a quick overview. I was hoping we could NetTool is deprecated. I already installed it. eLinks.
What's eLinks?
eLinks is a graphical browser on a command line.
Oh?
Yeah.
How does that work?
It's a TUI.
It's
what?
kind of like net curses.
Yeah. Textual user interface.
Yeah. Now here it is. You probably can't see too much on the white, but this is the STLLUG page in eLinks.
Huh.
What about lolcat? Do they have that in their repos?
Spell.
LOLCAT. Ah, that would be too much fun.
Well, let's put it this way: it's not in the normal system repos.
Yeah, not the officials.
The one I installed here, server mail, is I need to install DMARC on Open DMARC on this thing, and the server mail repositories have it, but as we were talking about before the meeting, there's a Perl dependency there that is just breaking on me. All right, so
where do you get these at? What's the place you go to download all this stuff from?
OpenSUSE.org.
Hey, Lee,
Yes.
I think I've got OpenSUSE 15.2 on mine.
I'll show you how to update it here in a few minutes.
I was gonna say, what's the command to ask it what version it is?
cat /etc/os tab. That works on all current Linux distros, including Red Hat, luckily.
Etsy OS tab?
Cat, C-A-T /etc/os tab. It's OS dash version or something like that.
Yeah, TAB.
Oh,
Or OS release.
now I got it.
Oh, tab completion instead of.
Yeah, I
just
didn't,
writing a
when you
tab.
said tab,
Cat /E
yeah,
E tab OS tab.
yeah. Yeah, I've got 15.2.
Right. So I'll show you how.
That to set up to go to 15.3. Is it?
And I'm gonna show you how to do that.
All right. Hey, next project. How do I've got 2 NICs on this thing.
Offline, Steve.
Okay.
Okay, here's the main SUSE page, OpenSUSE.org. There are 2 versions of SUSE. Leap is what I use. It's the standard incremental update version. If you are so inclined, you can also look at Tumbleweed. Tumbleweed is a rolling release, latest and greatest, all the time. Tumbleweed is a year to year and a half ahead of Leap. Right now, Leap is 15.3. One of the nice things about Leap is the repos it use are the same with the commercial version.
So it really is the same.
Yep, it is the same.
Wow.
Now, this is one of my machines here in the shop. It is a production server. Everybody can see this, right?
Yeah.
I built this last winter, and this is my Odoo server I built for one of the startups I'm working with. And one of the topics that I might do later on here this fall, assuming we got a hole in the schedule, is how I did it. Any Docker installation, we've talked about this last year or 2 years ago when Chuck was doing all the series. There are 2 components to any Docker installation for a web server. Number 1 is a load balancer, which we talked about, basically an Nginx machine that answers any queries on 80 and 443 and redirects them to 443 if they come in on port 80. But basically, the load balancer handles the SSL connection with the outside world. And then it dispatches internally via Docker to the physical web container that your app is using. And then that physical web container might also have a database container. And that's how the Docker structure works. But the point here is that this machine is a running server with Docker instance, Docker installation. And this is how the repos are structured. I here I'm in Etsy zipper repos.d. Everybody can see that up here, right? Do I need to make it bigger?
Yeah, I can see that just fine.
Okay. Again, I'm in Etsy repos.d. I'm going to cat this file, repo OSS. Repo is, this repository is open source software. And this is the name of the repo, repo OSS. Main repository, it's enabled. Refresh is enabled. Skip the URL for a second. Path in the repo, type is a RPM. I don't know what key packages is, but here's the base URL for the repo. All standard SUSE repositories are on download.opensuse.org, and they are there for 6 different architectures, if I remember correctly, including ARM64, PowerPC, x86/AMD 64, and there's a few others. So after distribution, we're looking at Leap. Here's the name for the repo, repo/OSS. Here is the magic key that enables us to do updates. Now, if you want to, Steve, if you want to look at your OpenSUSE machine, look at one of your repos and see if you have $release_var in the repo name.
All right, hang in there. Let me go to Etsy zip repo.d. I'm there. I'm going to do cat repo. Gotta spell it right. Other things just don't seem to work.
This is Stan. I think the key packages equal 0 probably means that it's keep it for an indefinite period.
Could be.
I have $release_var.
Okay, so that means you're current. Up and before 15.2, there was no release_var. They introduced it in 15.2. So if you were upgrading an older machine and you hadn't,
I'm sorry,
put release_var in here, in your links, you know, it's going to be hard to update. You have to go through and manually change the release_var every time. So what I'm going to do here, well, hang on a second. First thing I have to do is post current updates on you. So to go to 15.3, the first thing you have to do is post any updates from 15.2. Now, while this is cooking, I'm going to jump over here and we can talk about some other things about 15.3 at the enterprise. If you want the link, I can give it to you. It's news.opensuse.org. I asked Michael about a good place to start and said, "This good?" And he said, "Yeah, it's a very good place." You guys can read with me if you want. I'm just going to skim the highlights. 15.3 is a huge change in that 15.3 is built not just from STLLUG code, but built with the exact same binary packages. So as of 15.3, you are sharing the same repositories. In fact, once I can get the message up there tag for you, I was surprised because when I built this machine up in New York, when I was installing packages, it says, SUSE Linux Enterprise 15 SP3 for the repos. So it's definitely using the same repos as STLLUG. It makes it easy to migrate. OpenSUSE is committed to standard migration paths from 15.3 forward. You can switch to SUSE and Enterprise just by flipping a switch. I don't use Enterprise that much, but if you want to do it, give Michael a call or shoot him an email. Each Leap version gives you at least 18 months of updates, sometimes more, sometimes it's closer to 2 years. There are hundreds of mailing lists, Discord, Telegram, Facebook. The community does a lot of backports. So if you want to migrate from Leap from a previous version of Leap to SUSE Linux Enterprise, All you have to do is the official migration. One point to make here, I'm not that familiar with it yet, but I can tell you for a fact that if you bork a system that's on a ButterFS root partition, all you have to do is boot with a rescue version, run snapper, and roll back to the previous version. I don't want to take the time to do it here, but if you just do a quick search on OpenSUSE snapper rollback, basically you boot it read-only, you roll it back, you reboot, and you're at the previous version.
Can you define or describe the term backport, please?
I was afraid you were going to do that.
This
Do
is
I have-
Stan. In the Linux Mint world, when they do a backport, they'll be like version Linux Mint 20. They introduce something new. They'll backport that to a previous version. They'll put it back in 19.3. So if you haven't upgraded to 20 yet, you can get the new stuff and put it in the old system. That's how Linux Mint does it.
Yeah, I hate to say, Gary, but I'm not sure I completely understand the point they're making here. Whether backports are for taking OpenSUSE and going to STLLUG 15 or the other way around. You know, it seems to read like, well, so migrations from Leap to Enterprise are uniform and instantaneous.
That's why, I mean, I'm used to the way Stan was describing backport and the fact that it refers to community supported packages. It almost seems like backports didn't make any sense with the Leap to STLLUG transition, but yeah, you're right. It's difficult to read that paragraph and understand.
Yeah. All right, let's jump back to the other system for a minute. Here's the updates that are waiting on the 15.2 machine. I've got a couple Dockers to handle. I'll handle those separately here in a minute. There's a whole bunch of new ones. System reboot required. And we've got download size 467 meg. And we're off and running. I couldn't believe this is 20 meg connection. It acts a heck of a lot faster.
Yeah, mine is busy downloading. What was the command I gave it anyway? Let's see.
Gary, it seems to say that you can jump back and forth between them with backports. Like if you're on STLLUG, you can use backports to jump to OpenSUSE, or if you're on OpenSUSE, you can use backports to jump to STLLUG.
It almost seems like that's meaningless now with it being binary compatible and just turning on the switch to allow for support.
Yeah, but the only packages that are guaranteed binary compatible are SUSE packages. I think they're making the point here that community packages based on top of Enterprise. I think, but you know, like I say, I don't deal much in the Enterprise on the Enterprise side, so that would be a good question for Michael.
Okay, gotcha.
Another point they make: there's no licensing involved. If you have an OpenSUSE license, you can run it on 5 cores or 100 cores, or 1,000 virtual machines.
Seems like they're trying to make friends.
Well, yeah. Because you know darn well IBM isn't going to allow that once they get their hooks fully integrated into Red Hat.
No. My problem with Red Hat is I never could figure out what version was what, because they always seemed like there was always a half a dozen versions out there one way or another.
Yep, this is true.
You know, and my little dinky connection is updating these packages. I mean, it's got the same thing. I'm at zipper up, and it's just banging its way through there, and I've still got good audio and good video on the Zoom meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to say, it's a decent connection.
Yeah. Another good point here, 15.3 now that is on a pair with Enterprise uses an LTS kernel. So hopefully we won't get new kernel versions as often as we used to before. One of the things that I never have understood is I've been pushing updates on Bach for a year. You know, because I just end up with time to do them during the day when nobody else does.
Yeah.
And I have yet to see, except for possibly one time in a year, where I actually had to reboot Bach. But with OpenSUSE up to date with 15.2, every second or third update, you know, required a reboot because the kernel is being replaced or some core services. So what I'm thinking is the change here going to an LTS kernel is to alleviate that and prevent the reboots which are starting with 15.3.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Here's the point that I was making a minute ago. If you want to do a distribution upgrade called a DUP or DUP in SUSE, it is not supported if you skip an intermediate version. Like if you're on 15.1, you have to go to 15.2 before you can go to 15.3. And each one of them has to be current. You know, like we're doing here, we're about halfway through the download at this point. Okay,
When you say has to be current, this is Stan. Do you mean that if you go to 15.2, you have to make that current before you can jump to 15.3? You have
no,
to do all the updates?
no, you can't take a 15.2 to 6-month-old and want to go to 15.3 without doing updates. You know, the current means you have to update right before you do the upgrade.
Okay,
Does
I
that make-
understand that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, in other words, the version of 15.2 you're running has to have been updated fairly recently. Otherwise, they're not going to guarantee that it'll be a clean upgrade. You know, you could be missing 2 or 3 new versions of something that might break in the upgrade. You know, because there's no way to make it current. By current, they mean recently updated. How's that?
understood.
XFCE has been improved. I don't use it that much because I've been a GNOME guy for a long time. Let's see, what do we have here? Python is sort of picking up some of the slack. A lot of the SUSE stuff used to be in Ruby. A lot of people are doing Python now because Ruby seems to be losing a little bit of traction in worlds other than the web world. Oh, and System 390, isn't that from the 80s?
Yes, it is.
I thought it was from the 90s.
80s, 90s, 40 years ago, whenever it was.
Well, System 360 was from the 1960s. I know.
1964.
I think what they're saying is the IBM Z hardware is the successor to the System 390 architecture.
Right.
But we really don't know because IBM has never said boo to us in the last couple of years.
That's right.
Probably because we don't buy enough of the hardware.
Now, gentlemen, we did have an IBM speaker just 2 months ago who talked about Linux One for us.
You know, that's right. Gary, I'm glad you keep track of that stuff.
This is Stan. If Stan would read this planning schedule, he'd have known that.
And we let them get away with something because usually when IBM hosts one of their own meetings, they usually have a very nice spread of food and drink and make everybody feel very welcome. All we wanted them to do is do a presentation for us remotely.
Oh, here's a new one. STEP, OpenSUSE STEP.
Oh,
Oh, OBS is one of the neat things about SUSE, open build service. You can sign up for an account. You can build any image you want and download an ISO part. And I've not seen that anywhere else. Does that make sense?
no. Give me that again.
If I want SLES 13 with postfix and a web server, I can check those boxes in OBS and get a customized ISO to build my machine with.
Oh,
And apparently OBS allows you to do ARM v7 32-bit x86, which is something I didn't know. I thought the SUSE 15 about 4 or 5 years ago got away from a 32-bit architecture, and I didn't even realize there was a way to build a 32-bit image.
wow.
Lee, this is Ed.
Yeah.
Don't they allow you to build, or I thought they used to anyway, allow you to build anything, Red Hat or Debian or Ubuntu?
Yes. I'm sorry. OBS is not just for SUSE. You can grab any ISO, customize it. You know, it's not limited. You know, it's a free service you can use for a number of platforms. Although I probably wouldn't be that quick to use it for non-SUSE platforms because the configuration utilities wouldn't be integrated, Ed. You know, we had the presentation was the last month about automating an install. The utility in SUSE called YAST, yet another setup tool, allows you to record the steps to build a system, save it in an AutoYAST file, and then just repeat it. You know, it's the same thing that almost every other distro has it. Oh, okay. We're 2/3 of the way done installing the packages over there. Okay, back to containers. There have been some recent changes in containers. There was a recent Leap 15.2 version that changed the container daemon from root to userland. And I found out the hard way that if you had a container set to restart, if not stop, it would not start. Because for some reason it lost the previous status of the container when you reboot it. If it was set to always start, it would. But if you want to do restart, if not stop, which is the standard that we use, you had to kick them manually to get going. Also have some better Kubernetes tools involved. That's something else I want to get to one of these years. AI, machine learning. There's some really neat stuff out there if anyone wants to play with it. I'm sure there's a lot of KDE folks around here. Let's see. Plasma 518. The LTS version. Almost all cloud companies offers Leap 15.3. Although this, the one I was showing you up in New York, it is actually see, in fact, I can show you here real quick. Oh, where'd I go? Come on, you stupid Zoom. Give me the right desktop. Do you see a major domo on the screen?
No, we still see the news thing that you were showing.
Why
Now
is
we
it?
see your command on.
Okay,
See
I'm
your
not gonna,
terminal now.
okay, I'm not getting the bar around. Now this does say Leap still. One of the machines, a couple of machines I was on here last week actually showed SUSE Linux Enterprise here instead of Leap. All right, cloud images, hardware architectures. By the way, if anybody has a question, I mean, a few of you guys have been chiming in, but don't be bashful. This is not a canned presentation. I'm just going through the latest and greatest, plus, doing a live update here for you. Here we go. We'll be back in a minute.
This
By
is
the way-
Stan. A question about Ziffer. Does it use RPM packages?
Yes,
Okay.
a lot of them are usable on both SUSE and Red Hat. Like the one for TeamViewer works on both. There's other utilities. The one for Slack works on both, although there's a dependency that isn't there, but it doesn't make any difference. You can see in the you can see in the zipper output here. All right, why can't I scroll up? Shoot, sorry about that. Zipper PS, all the way to the top of the screen. If you want to look at any process that is running a dead library, Zipper PS -S. Yeah, he's not up yet. All right, give him a few minutes.
Lee, this is Stan. Does
Yeah, Stan.
does this have in the repositories a thing called NeoFetch? NeoFetch?
Give me 1 second. NeoFetch.
I believe that's what it is.
CLI system information tool written in Bash.
I find that very handy with the newcomers. It shows what the base system is and the desktop environment that they're running and all kinds of things.
That's what you want, right?
Yeah. And you can make it lie. Bingo.
Ooh.
So I got two Xeons at 3.1 gigahertz, half a gig of memory, or 4 gig rather, 498 megabyte used. Bash 444, 1,000 packages, uptime 3 hours since update this afternoon. Kernel 5.3, what are you guys running?
I'm running 5.4 somewhere.
Kind of interesting that the machine at Linode is running on Hyper-V. I guess this could be a physical server that somebody has the whole machine out there.
Yeah. On a desktop, it would show the user interface and all kinds of pertinent information for desktop environment.
Okay.
In addition to this.
All right, that is the what's new. Talked about STEP basically, release Spotlight, Podman, Creo, Container D. We need to get somebody to do, if anyone wants to do Kubernetes, let me know, because I want to play with it and I'll be glad to help out, but I just don't have the time right now. In fact, I could probably even have got a piece here to put together a 4 or 5 Raspberry Pi cluster. Yeah, most of this is pretty much the same. I did find out something interesting. Every time I install a clean install, which I had to do 2 weeks ago because my main workstation finally died, the default is Wayland for a window manager on GNOME. And every time I try to use it, I find something that doesn't work. Turns out Wayland is so dumb, he doesn't have an X input. I mean, you can play with X input all day long and never change the mouse button. So when I installed 15.3 on my main workstation, you know, it started with Wayland and everything was okay until I had to remap my mouse button and it didn't work. And from what I could see, it wasn't even correct in IDing USB mouse device. It didn't have it.
Well, that's because Wayland is not Xorg.
This is true, but Wayland didn't have it. I tried to find out how to remap mouse buttons in Wayland and I couldn't. I got no hit whatsoever.
Yeah, I think that might be desktop environment specific.
Well, GNOME doesn't have it. That's Xorg.
Yeah, all sorts of fun things when you change fundamental building blocks of programs.
What else? Pretty much standard. Linux kernel 5.3. All right, let's jump back to the shell here. I'm now on 15.2 latest. Jump over to a TMUX session just in case I lose a connection. So now I want to do an upgrade to 15.3. Well, it's very simple. Assuming you have a reasonably current 15.2 system and you have the release ver variable in your repo path names, zipper refresh for release ver 15.3. Release ver, did I spell it right? God damn it. Pardon my French.
Lee, this is Stan. I think you need to put a V in that word release.
I didn't have a V in there.
You did not have a V in there. You had only one. You need another one.
RELEASE. What do you mean?
No, I'm wrong. Sorry.
That's okay. God damn it. Back up. Oh, space. Okay. Sorry about that. Oh, damn it.
I was gonna say, I saw you try space a while ago.
One second. Ah, okay. Sorry about that. There we go. The option has to go before the command. So now I'm doing the update to 15.3, or configuring for the upgrade to 15.3 by doing a refresh on the repos for our release for 15.3.
This is Stan. I have muted everybody except Lee.
Thank you, Stan. List is kind of long here and goes kind of quick with the font so big. But there's 1,200 to upgrade, 82 to downgrade, 133 new, 12 to remove, and another 1,200 to change. And we're off and running.
The interesting story would be the 82 that need to be downgraded. Cute.
Well, with a couple thousand packages on there, each one of them managed by a different maintainer using different libraries. Who knows? What the interesting part is, a lot of them will change owner in quotes, where an upgrade will want the same package but from a different repo. But in 15 years, you know, these guys have the testing very well defined, and I can't say I've ever had a problem with a a normal package. This one I was playing with this afternoon, the Open DMARC one, is driving me fruit. But anyway, that's going to run a bit. He's about 10% done.
That might be a good time then. I'll suggest, Lee, you take a look at the chat. There's at least three questions in there.
Oh, well, thank you, because I can't see the chat window.
Oh, okay. One question is from Jonathan Drews, and it says, Lee, can you go over the installation and configuration of Alpine MUA? Probably more of a request that would be done later in the presentation if you're going to.
Not sure what I wouldn't say there's a simple way to do it, because I haven't done it in 15 years. I've been using Pine since the 90s, and my configuration hasn't changed. Let's see. Give me the. There it is. Where's a Pine window? There's a Pine window. Except now I gotta find it. Setup. S for setup, C for config. I mean, this is the basic one. Personal name, domain, SMTP server. For my particular installation, I'm authenticating against a local host. So I use the flag no validate cert. So I don't have to have a NAG on it. Here is one trick that took me a long time to figure out 15 years ago. Your IMAP inbox path, if it's on a local host, has to be in curly brackets. That's how you use a mail dir configuration on a local machine. And you're actually accessing it by IMAP anyway, port 143. What else? Where'd the chat window go? Who asked the question, Gary?
That question was from Jonathan Drews.
Did you have a specific question, Jonathan, or?
You answered it, Lee. Thank you very much.
Oh, that was it?
Yeah, that's why I have to go to that menu to configure my Alpine MUA.
Okay. And you know,
Pine is it's now Alpine.
Yeah, but I still use Pine. This machine I built in the late 90s, I think.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. A couple things I would point out: SMTP server and inbox path are the two criticals that connect your incoming, outgoing. Notice also that you have a signature file. That's how I do signatures. It's a text file that sits out there on the system.
Nice.
That's how you do signatures. Roles are a little bit more complicated. I have 20 different roles configured. Each one of them has a different return address and a different signature. Like here's my default, automatically attaches a signature. Here's another one for my mom's nonprofit. Control R is neat. That's how you get to your rich headers. That's how you can do you know, BCC or CC or whatever. Address book, you know, pretty much standard. Enter to show it, U to update it, Control X to save it.
I'm impressed, Lee. That is a really good MUA.
Yeah, and I have never seen one that would allow you to do a roll. I mean, I spent a couple hours playing with Mutt 15, you know, a long time ago, and I could not figure out how to change your identity in an email. And to this day, I don't think you can do it.
You're probably right.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I'm right. I'm just saying I've never seen it. I think, Gary, you use Mutt, don't you?
No,
L, okay.
I want Elm back.
And you know, it's now I'm using local folders or MBox format. That's just the way I do them.
That is a very good feature. Local folders instead of in temp.
And I back them up every night, so you don't have to worry about it.
There, instead of there.
Yep. And in the last couple of years, I have grown so used to a dark theme that I have to get sunglasses whenever I look at a white web page. I don't see how people can stand to do it.
Gotcha.
All right, what was the next one, Gary?
Okay, calling up the next one. It's from Ed Howland, and he says, as far as I know, eLink seems to use helper programs to display images / other types of media. Anyone else have any more info?
Good question.
If anyone besides Lee would like to jump in with the offered suggestion.
That was just me being curious.
I've never seen eLinks use an image. And let's see, I don't know if you guys have it. Can you see it here? I've got eLinks on the screen here. God damn it.
No, we're not seeing it, Lee. We're still seeing the N3 building.
Hang on. Yeah, this is eLinks here for STLLUG.org. I'm not sure how it would display an image, Ed. You know, because you don't have any you know, graphical image way of displaying graphical imaging images and end curses. You know, you could do something artistic.
Well, one thing to remember, right, is that in most cases, if you've got a terminal, it's a terminal emulator, which itself is a graphical program. That's the reason why you can do large fonts, small fonts, different fonts, right? They're all just pixels on the screen. So there are ways to do it, but I don't know if it just overlays the image somewhere, or maybe it in a separate window. I don't know. That's why I was asking.
Yeah, well, that would require that you're running the shell on your local machine, because 99% of the machines I talk to, I do an SSH connection, and there is no GUI on that remote machine.
Correct,
So,
unless you do.
Yeah, so yeah, I guess it would be, yeah. You know, because here I'm doing eLinks on the machine in Chicago or in New York, and I guarantee you there's no graphic program, no graphic library at all on that machine. So
Yeah,
you couldn't make an X connection even if you wanted to.
yeah.
Shouldn't everything just be changed into ASCII art?
Well, yeah, that Gary, yeah, that's the term I was thinking, ASCII art. You know, and for something artistic, yeah, it might be interesting, but I'm not sure how useful it would be.
Hey, Lee.
Yeah, Steve.
Okay, my zipper up is finished. What's the next command? I don't remember.
The release ver one, zipper space dash dash release ver equals 15.3 space ref.
Wait a minute. Zipper dash release ver.
No, zipper space
Yeah.
dash dash release ver equals 15.3.
All right.
Space ref, refresh, and it'll say enforcing release ver equals 15.3.
All right. Now, should I do that after the reboot or before?
No. It'll tell you when to reboot.
Okay. Okay, it's going through the repository updates. I guess that's what it is.
And it shows enforcing 15.3, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you're doing your refresh. After you're done with that, do the same thing, but DUP at the end for distribution upgrade.
Okay, so it's a zipper up with a DUP.
No. Same thing you had before. Zipper space minus release ver equals 15.3.
Oh,
But instead of ref on the end, you put the DUP. DUP distribution.
okay. This may get done by the time we're done. Well, I don't know. The machine's not that bad.
Well, it's not the machine. It's the link speed.
Yeah, that's true. This is downloading a ton of stuff again.
Yeah, but believe it or not, I'm almost through downloading them here.
Well, you got, shall we say, a little more speed than I got?
20 meg. Not that much more. 2.5 times.
Okay, it's time for the next zipper, DUP. Zipper release for 15.3 DUP.
Right.
Okay.
But like I was telling you before, one of the interesting things I found out about AT&T is all their fiber is what they call flex bandwidth.
Okay.
So apparently when you open a TCP/IP connection, it gives you whatever bandwidth you want.
Really?
Because the backup jobs that run overnight, they used to take like an hour and a half just to do the diff between the two machines. Now they're done in 10 minutes.
Really? And you're not paying for that kind of speed, you don't think?
No, the link speed is 20 meg. So if you have a connection that's I don't know how they work it, but all I know is for a single given connection, it can pull more than 20 meg.
Huh.
They call it flex bandwidth.
Huh. Well, all their towers are linked with fiber.
May or may not be.
My guy says it definitely got fiber at that cell tower.
Well, I mean that's a major tower. I've been using that Net Cell Info Lite, and I have yet to show a connection to a tower I can physically see, even if I was there where it was.
Yeah, well, that tower, if you're standing next to the tower, it probably can't transmit straight down to the ground.
No. You missed. No, it's not what I'm saying. I'm saying my cell is connecting to a tower at the southeast corner of Olive and Mosley.
Okay.
But there is no physical tower there.
No, there isn't, is there?
No. So it must be on the roof of the building or something, where you can't see it from the ground.
Is that one of those little micro-sized 5G towers?
No, it's not 5G. It's 4G, band 13.
Huh.
And there's another one southwest of here, which is where I'm going to point my repeater at, because it's on the south end of the building.
Yeah.
And it's like 2 miles away, and I got like minus 106 dB signal upstairs. So when I put the repeater and the booster on it, I should have about a 95 dB signal down here on the lower level.
Boy, that'll be nice.
Yeah, no kidding.
I still got to get my cell phones changed over.
All right. So who's got another question?
This is Stan. In response to Ed's inquiry, I've been playing around with a program called ZGV. As Z is in zebra, G is in golf, V is in Victor. And there's also a X Windows version, XZGV, X-Ray Zulu Golf Victor, that might be what he's looking for. I haven't had the opportunity to completely test it on a server that doesn't have a graphical stuff loaded. That might be a solution.
And Lee, Stan was answering Ed's question, which was, is that Ziffer or Zipper?
ZYPPER. Zebra Yankee Poppy Papa Echo Romeo.
No, Gary,
Thank you,
I
that's
wasn't.
what I was asking.
Oh, this is Stan. I was talking toward the graphical issue, displaying images.
Oh, okay. Here's the chat window.
You answered all of my questions. Thank you.
My pleasure.
And Jonathan posted man page says that Lynx -G runs graphic mode.
E-links?
Just Lynx. It's there in the chat. Most recent entry.
I don't even know what Lynx is. What is Lynx?
That was the forerunner of Lynx, or V-Lynx rather, I should say. Also LYNX.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see if I can install Lynx here real quick.
Jonathan, would you like to open your mic and chime in there?
Yeah, I'm logging into a console on OpenBSD and seeing if I can get it to run. So give me a second here.
All right.
I forgot the password.
Okay. If I can get my screen share back. All right, here's what happens if you install Lynx without a X Windows. Everybody see it over here?
I just got a gray block.
It's installed on my main workstation here so you can see it. See what happens in an X term. Okay, here we go. Notice the name of the repo here. Update repository with updates from SUSE Linux Enterprise 15. This is one I installed 2 weeks ago. Ooh, Ed, I love it. It works.
So is it running it in an X term or X window?
In an X term, under X, it will show graphics. Just links, LANKS space -G space website. Do you guys see it here?
Yeah, that's
Yes,
that's
that
the
was
only-
Jonathan. That was Jonathan Drew's contribution.
Cool. I love it.
I used to use Lynx web browser back in the 90s. LYNX.
Oh, I still use that.
Is this a variation on that?
Oh, it's just a different one. It's a little bit more primitive because it is pure text. It takes whatever your terminal font is and uses that to display the page. Okay. About 2/3 of the way through. Let's jump back over there.
Lee, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say I was seeing some blotches there that weren't displaying, that they're irrelevant at this point.
Yeah, when I hit the window key, it'll do the, show all the windows for you.
Right.
So you should be seeing both on the desktop. I'm both on the monitor I'm sharing over here.
Correct.
Then when I hit escape, it goes back to the one I selected. Huh. Micro OS. Atomic updates on a read-only ButterFS file system. Okay. Anybody want to hazard a guess as to what that means?
Something to do with nuclear fission.
I think this would be a harbinger of a more secure OS that can't be hacked. Is that seem right to you, James? You see more of this commercial stuff than I do.
Not really. Go back, simple. So when I hear immutable along with servers, I think Terraform and the idea that you just define what your servers you want them to be, and you let the Terraform do it. And every time you want to make a change, you'd go there and change it that way. I don't know if it enforces it on the, in fact, no, it doesn't enforce it on the server because people use Ansible afterwards. But no changes on disk.
Well, on ButterFS, I could almost imagine it, maintaining a snapshot of any changes, sort of like it does in a container. Well, of course, you can change it in a container. You change the memory image. You're not changing the image of the container. So if the memory image disappears for some reason, you're back to whatever the original image was.
Yeah. So it might be the same with that. That OS, the memory might change. It might do the calculations, but if you need to, you can wipe it and immediately have the same configuration.
Mm-hmm. You don't even have to wipe it. All you do is a rollback.
Yeah. Press the button, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. Firewall D. All right, what do we got here? RPM fail, unpacking of archive failed on file, user left firewall D. Oh, ignore, okay. By the way, this is something that I started doing Looking at this right here, what do you think that could be?
Permissions error.
Well, it is a permissions error, but why? It's something I did for a specific reason.
Did you make a mount point read only?
Not entirely. It's not a mount point.
The that firewall D
It's time to take a
configuration.
sledgehammer to the mainstream media's.
Hey, Steve, you having fun?
It is a problem with something read only. Because there's a file I made immutable because I got tired of updates changing it.
Yeah, that firewall D. Well, I guess it might not be it. No arch erase skipped.
Read the path.
User lib firewall D services ssh.xml.
Okay. What
Well-
reason would you want that file to be immutable?
So that packages don't poke holes in your firewall.
No. Non-standard SSH port.
Oh, you set
Say-
it to.
I changed the port in SSH.xml and make it immutable. That way, it shows as the SSH service, even though it's a non-standard port.
You have to do it in SSH XML. I thought I thought there were other files, but I'm more familiar with Red Hat and D.
But no, I mean this is the way you change the port in Firewall D.
Oh, okay.
You know, the SSH can config. Yeah, you change the port in the config, so it's using the port, but you also have to change the port in Firewall D, so it opens it for you.
Mm-hmm.
But if this is how I change the port and then I make it immutable. I just have to remember to ignore it whenever I do an update.
You change the port to 23 instead of 22. No one will guess it.
God.
Well, I just don't like leaving it 22. Recently, I've been changing to 654022.
Yeah, I saw a story, or maybe it was on Security Now, back when the quarantine happened, and we're seeing a lot more open ports on this one, which is just off the default RDP port.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was literally one above. And I guess some people think that's security.
Oh, speaking of which, I got a good question for everybody. Speaking of RDP, I had to set up an OpenSUSE server in the Azure cloud with RDP because the client wanted to use a Windows machine with RDP to talk to it. It took me probably a week of beating on it to realize that if you set up RDP on Linux, you can't use RDP to talk to it from a Linux machine.
Really?
Really?
Okay.
It won't authenticate. If you connect to it with RDP from a Windows machine, it authenticates fine. If you connect to it with RDP from Remina or a Linux machine, it won't authenticate.
Can you still use the regular Linux connections?
No.
Really?
I never set up VNC.
Oh, okay.
But I wanted to use RDP because that way I can see exactly what the client's seeing.
No, I understand.
And if I need to talk to it, I SSH in anyway.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
Did
so
you
it
ever-
doesn't interfere with that?
Lee, this is Stan.
Yes,
Have you ever tried X2Go? X2Go has an RPN or whatever that package is for talking to Windows.
I would not do anything that they had installed on Windows.
Aye.
You know, it's not me talking to it, it's them talking to it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, see, they have to talk to it with RDP. And I was trying to talk RDP from my Linux machine so I can test what they're seeing. But I can never get it to work. So I have to boot a Windows VM so I can use Windows RDP to talk to it.
I think X2Go has an RDP package that you can connect to a Windows box with from a Linux box.
No, it's the other way around. The Linux box I set up to accept an RDP connection from a Windows box, and it works.
Oh,
But if I try to use my Linux box with Remina and RDP to the same server, it won't authenticate. It just hits an infinite loop with trying. All right, back to the update. Here's zipper PS-S. Now here's everything, you know, notice all the deleted, there's all kinds of stuff that's been updated. So at this point, reboot again. And when he comes back, we'll be on SUSE 15.3. You may have any questions? Everybody awake?
Allegedly.
just barely. A lot of info. Anybody ever go back and look at the recordings?
Which one?
Well, all of the meetings. All the meeting recordings over the last year or so are linked to up on the front page of the www.slug.org page.
I would add to that, anyone can go and watch, part or all of one of those recordings, and then, if you want to carry on a conversation or a question or a comment, post it to discuss. And people who were at the session when it was done originally, may see it on discuss and respond back, or it may just intrigue somebody else. But we get a lot of information that we've now recorded and have available.
All right, guys, come on. There we go. Almost up. Maybe not. Well, that's no bueno. You got a problem.
So now if you're a whole state away, what do you do?
Well, if it's not here, I've always got console access to it.
By the way, speaking of something that's fixable from a great distance, for those of you who've been following the story, the Hubble Space Telescope did get fixed. They wound up switching over to some backup hardware on board the telescope, and they're still in the process of migrating some of the software to the backup hardware. But kind of a neat trick.
But
Really, I guarantee they're not running wind blows up there.
Yeah.
I don't think wind blows existed when they built the software for the Hubble. That was back in the 80s, right?
I think you're right. Yeah. That's like the old Timex watch commercial. That thing just keeps on ticking.
Hey, Gary, what broke?
I think it was a memory card or board or whatever, but I think it started developing memory errors, I think.
Yeah, all those little micrometeorites floating around out there. I probably took a hit on a chip.
Speaking of space activities and bad software, for those of you who may remember, last year Boeing embarrassed itself very badly, launched their version of the CTS-100 for the Starliner capsule, and almost lost it. Luckily, there were no humans on board, but they wound up with like 3 major software glitches and just badly lost control of the thing right after launch, and it was really a miracle they got it down in one piece, but it did not make it to the space station.
Well, in their defense, it was not intended to make it a space station. It was just a test launch, right?
No, it was supposed to do an automated approach to the station.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that was on the flight plan.
Yeah. And instead, the flight plan was quickly changed to, can we get it down in one piece? So that is going to be tried again right now it's scheduled for launch on July the 30th. Boeing had the nerve to actually ask NASA well, do you really want us to do it unmanned again, or can we put humans on it this time? Do I need to tell you what NASA's answer was? We'd like to see it unmanned and work before we actually put people on it. Thank you.
Boy, I'll tell you. I wonder if Mike Sears is running Boeing now. Or no, Mike Sears got put in jail. Didn't he?
I don't think I know Sears.
He was in my National Guard group. All I know that he ever actually did was arrange Colonel Jewell's annual golf outing. I don't think he ever did anything else.
That'll get your promotion, man.
Yeah. Yeah, he was the guy at Boeing that worked with that one woman and offered her some kind of an amazing job if she would throw something Boeing away. I don't remember the details anymore. That's been a number of years ago.
I don't remember what the other problems were, but I know the first problem the last time they launched it was the internal clock on the capsule itself should have been set to synchronize to the launch clock so that it knew that it was launching. And instead, they set it to, instead of the master launch clock, they set it to pick up the clock off the booster. And it was set to a different time. And yeah, just a very simple thing of setting the timer to the correct source. And that hooked them up royally.
All right, guys. Well, that's all I've got.
I'm not sure if I've lost sound or anything. Can someone tell me just exactly what's going on, what we're doing here?
Nothing. We're done. We're just talking.
So basically,
Anybody
we
there?
the box to boot off the new 15.3.
His host. I'm gonna have to go look at it. Of course, if you want to yak for a few minutes, I'll go look at it and come right back.
Sure.
The McDonnell Douglas had a thing they called the A11 in the late 90s that was a vertical launch, vertical landing thing. And when it was successful, all of a sudden the project went dark.
Excuse me, am I coming through to anybody?
Yes, you are. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
What's wrong?
I hear Stan, but was that Bob Hansen who asked the question? Can anybody hear me?
That was Bob Hansen, and we hear him, but apparently he cannot hear us.
Okay. I'm going to respond in chat just so he may.
I'm doing that right now.
Okay. In that case, I will hold my fingers.
Oh,
That's Steve. Oh, quarantine, quarantine.
oh God, yes. Oh Lord.
Well, didn't SpaceX make some kind of claim that they were first with the vertical landing?
I don't think the A11 or the McDonnell Douglas one, I don't think it ever reached space. I mean, it launched and hovered, turned around, came back and landed on its tail, but I don't think it ever got great altitude.
Well, I imagine if they'd filled up the gas tanks, it had probably got beyond the 60-mile limit. But that was a McDonnell Douglas project, I believe.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Was that back in the 90s?
Yeah, it was 1995 or so, I believe.
Yeah, that was. I think that was just a demonstration of what they could do.
Well, I mean, once they got that far, you never heard a peep about it anymore. So I don't know whether they moved that all to Georgia, 82nd Airborne, or what. What?
No, I don't know either. But I remember seeing movies of the thing. It was like science fiction from when I was a kid. It would lift up on its jets, translate, drive around, and just set back down. Must have been an ungodly fuel hog.
Well, the idea was to be able to have a rocket that could be deployed from anywhere and land virtually anywhere on a landing spot about the size of a Walmart or Walgreens parking lot.
Wait a minute, doesn't Elon Musk's boosters do that? Yeah, they do that.
Well, so all of them do.
Yeah, they land on a barge.
Our parking lot, our back where they came from.
Yeah, could be.
Because if you can land on a barge, you can certainly land on any spot of land.
But just imagine any place on the planet within less than 4 hours. It would have been nice to be able to land in Tehran or similar places.
The biggest problem with that though is the fuel burn is just enormous. You think a helicopter is bad.
You know, Star Trip.
Star Trip.
Yeah. Star Troopers.
Oh, Starship Troopers, yeah.
Yeah. Killing bugs.
Mobile infantry. Yeah, I'm from Buenos Aires. So
Yes.
kill them all.
All right. It was a simple problem. It was a hardware problem. Some of the machines I put in a rack, I don't get them set to boot without the keyboard, and apparently just hung on boot. So I just hit the reset button and it came right back up. So it's now OpenSUSE 15.3. The containers are running. This particular
I understand that. So if it wouldn't boot because the keyboard isn't hooked up, so you did a reboot and it works?
Yeah.
So the reboot doesn't need the keyboard.
Right.
Oh. Okay.
No. I'm saying I plugged the keyboard in and rebooted it.
Oh, I thought that was the point. This box you were doing this to was in New York.
No. That's what I'm saying. The one I was doing it to was here in the shop. And sometimes when I put a machine in the rack, I'm not as conscientious as I should be. And sometimes I get them to. The older ones have to have a keyboard. The Pentium Pro ones from 20 years ago, you can't tell them to boot without a keyboard. They're the compact ones.
Okay.
But the Dells, normally they will boot without a keyboard. But for some reason, this one is different.
Honestly, who runs 20-year-old hardware? Oops.
I do.
Oops.
Weren't we just talking about the Hubble Space Telescope?
Had Windows 11, right? Okay. NeoFetch.
And how are we going to upgrade that hardware on Voyagers 1 and 2? The ones that are beyond the edge of the solar system.
That'll be a problem.
Very carefully.
Yeah, this guy actually has more than a few things on it. It's got Odoo, it's got OwnCloud. I don't know what I was using Redis for. So we'll have to play with this later.
Yeah. Is this the one we put NeoFetch on? Or was that your?
No, that was one. That was one in New York.
No. But it's 15.3 now, so it would have that in the repository. Okay.
Yeah. Well, the one in New York was 15.3. Or no, wait, I put that here. Oh, there's links. Yeah, that's where I put NeoFetch.
Okay.
All right, anybody else?
I think that's it.
All right, guys, why don't you stop the recording and close down the official session. If you want to stick around and yak, feel free.
Okay.
Yeah, Lee, when this is done updating or retrieving here, when it gets done, I'll send you an email for the last couple of commands. If you just tell me, I won't remember them.
Oh, well, if you're doing the DUP, all you have to do is reboot it.
Okay.
That is the last command?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
This is Stan. I'm going to shut down the official recording.
Confirmed?